Okay, so you're interested in AI that can actually do things.
Right.
Not just chat,
Yeah.
but like open files,
Uh-huh.
edit documents,
Yep.
stuff in the real world.
Exactly.
That's exactly what we're diving into today.
Okay.
Large action models,
Okay.
or LAMs.
Lambs.
You've sent over some fascinating research about them,
I have.
and we're ready to unpack it.
Absolutely.
We've got excerpts from a paper called Large Action Models from Inception to Implementation.
Yes.
It's a bit dense,
A little bit.
but it really lays out the roadmap for where this technology is headed.
It does. It does.
So think of this deep dive like this.
Okay.
Imagine teaching a super smart computer to be your personal assistant,
Right.
not just for finding information,
Yeah.
but for actually getting things done on your computer.
That's it.
That's the power of LAMs.
Mm-hmm.
And the researchers in this paper really wanted to answer a key question.
Which is?
Can we build an AI that not only understands our intentions, but can actually take action in the real world?
Yeah.
And they decided to tackle this challenge in the very familiar world of Microsoft Word.
I love it.
I mean, who hasn't wished for an AI that could format documents,
Yeah.
insert images,
Oh.
or just wrestle with the complexities of Word in general?
Oh, constantly.
Totally.
That would be fantastic.
So they set out to train a LAM
Okay.
that could automate tasks in Word,
Uh-huh.
and you won't believe this,
What?
but they actually got it to outperform GPT-4o.
Wow.
Even when GPT-4o had access to visual information from screenshots.
That's impressive.
It's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
The LAM they developed achieved an 81.2% task success rate,
That's really good.
which is incredible considering it was operating solely on text-based input.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so color me intrigued.
Okay.
Well, let's back up for a second.
All right.
What exactly makes a LAM different from those large language models,
Yeah.
or LLMs we hear so much about?
Well, think of it this way. LLMs are amazing at understanding and generating language, but they kind of get stuck in the world of words.
Okay.
Lambs, on the other hand,
Yeah.
can take that understanding of language and translate it into real-world actions.
Got it.
The researchers actually defined 5 core characteristics that set lambs apart.
5.
5.
Okay, let's break those down.
Okay.
What's the first one?
The first is interpreting user intentions.
Okay.
A lamb has to go beyond simply understanding the literal meaning of a command.
Uh-huh.
It needs to figure out what the user actually wants to achieve,
Yeah.
even if their instructions are a bit vague.
So if I tell the LAM to schedule a meeting,
Yeah,
it needs to figure out who to invite,
right.
when to schedule it,
Yeah,
and all those little details we often leave out.
exactly.
Exactly.
And that leads us to the second characteristic,
Okay.
action generation.
Okay.
This is where lambs really shine.
Right.
They have to figure out the specific steps needed to actually carry out those intentions.
And we're not just talking about typing words anymore, right?
No.
It could be anything from clicking a button to opening a file.
Mm-hmm.
All those actions we do on a computer.
You got it.
You got it.
And it gets even more complex with the third characteristic,
Okay.
dynamic planning and adaptation.
Interesting.
Think about it.
Okay.
The real world is messy.
For sure.
Things don't always go according to plan.
That's true.
So the lamb can't be some rigid rule follower.
Okay.
It needs to be able to adjust on the fly and think on its feet.
Right. So the LAM can't be.
Yeah.
So it needs to be able to adjust on the fly and
Adapt and think on its feet.
Right.
Right?
Imagine you ask a LAM to book a flight
Okay.
and the website crashes.
Oh, no.
A good LAM won't just give up.
Okay.
It will try a different website.
Makes sense.
Maybe adjust the dates,
Okay.
find workarounds.
Wow, that's some serious problem solving.
It is.
Okay, what are the last 2 characteristics?
Well, they go hand in hand.
Okay.
Specialization and efficiency.
Okay. Lambs aren't meant to be all-knowing, do-everything AI.
Right.
They're designed to be really good at specific tasks within specific environments.
So you might have one LAM
Uh-huh.
that's a whiz at managing your email,
Yep.
another that's great at scheduling,
Yeah.
and another that's an expert at automating those tedious tasks in a particular software program.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because they're specialized,
Uh-huh.
they can be way more efficient than a general-purpose LLM.
That makes sense.
They don't have to waste time processing irrelevant information
Yeah.
or trying to figure out how to do everything under the sun.
Okay, I'm starting to see why you're so excited about this.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So we know what makes a LAM tick,
Uh-huh.
but how do you actually go about building one of these things?
That's where this research gets really interesting. They walk us through the entire process.
Okay.
From collecting data to actually deploying the lamb in a real-world system.
Okay, so walk us through it.
Okay.
What's the first step?
First, you need data.
Okay. And lots of it.
Lots of data, all right?
And they do this data collection in 2 phases.
Okay.
They start with what they call task plan data,
Task plan data, okay.
which basically gives the lamb a high-level understanding of how tasks are structured.
I see.
They gather this data from things like application documentation
Oh, interesting.
and even those helpful WikiHow articles.
Okay.
So basically giving the lamb a general sense of how things work.
Makes sense.
Right.
Right.
But then they need to get down to the nitty-gritty of specific actions.
Okay.
They call this task action data.
Task action. Got it.
And it involves actually recording real interactions with the application.
So like watching a human do it.
Yeah. Think mouse clicks, keystrokes,
Right.
all those little actions we take for granted.
Yeah, yeah. It's like providing the lamb with step-by-step instructions. It's
Exactly.
almost like a recipe for completing tasks.
That's a great analogy.
That's a great analogy.
And they actually used Microsoft Word as their test environment.
So they would record things like how to change the font size or insert an image, like showing the lamb exactly how to do each task.
Step by step.
Step by step.
And all of this data is then used to train the lamb, right?
Right.
But they didn't just dump all this data into the AI and hope for the best.
Mhm.
They actually broke the training process down into 4 distinct phases.
That's right.
So phase 1 is like laying the foundation,
Yeah.
giving the lamb a basic understanding of tasks and plans.
It's like teaching the lamb to think like a project manager.
Okay.
Figuring out the overall workflow before getting into the details.
All right, then comes phase 2,
Yeah.
which is where things get really cool.
Right, I'm ready.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Okay.
What happens in phase 2?
They actually bring in GPT-4o,
GPT-4o.
the multimodal version of GPT-4,
Okay.
to generate demonstrations of how to complete tasks in Word.
Got it.
So they're essentially showing the lamb how an expert would do things.
Like having a master chef show you how to make their signature dish.
Step by step.
Step by step.
And the lamb is learning by watching,
Yeah.
trying to understand the why behind each action.
That's it.
Exactly.
But they didn't stop there.
Yeah.
In phase 3,
Oh.
they really pushed the lamb to think for itself.
Oh, how so?
They introduced something called self-boosting exploration.
Self-boosting.
They
Okay.
give the lamb tasks that even GPT-4o couldn't solve,
Interesting.
and then let it experiment.
Okay.
Try different approaches.
Okay.
And learn from both its successes and failures.
Okay. So it's not just mimicking experts.
Right.
It's developing its own strategies
Uh-huh.
and figuring out solutions that even humans might not have thought of.
That's the beauty of it.
That's the beauty of it.
And this is where a mechanism called REACT comes in.
React. Okay.
It allows the lamb to reason through the problem,
Got it.
try out an action,
Uh-huh.
and then learn from the feedback it gets.
I see.
It's a continuous loop of planning, acting, and learning. So it's like the lamb is constantly improving,
Yeah.
getting smarter and more adaptable with every task it tackles.
Exactly.
Okay, that brings us to the final phase of training.
Great.
What happens in phase 4?
In phase 4, they introduce a reward model.
A reward model.
Think of it like a coach
Okay.
who evaluates the lamb's performance
Okay.
and gives it feedback on each step of the process.
So it's like the lamb's getting graded on its homework,
Yeah.
with the reward model telling it what it did well and what it needs to improve.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they use a technique called offline PPO
Offline PPO.
to fine-tune the lamb based on this reward feedback.
I see.
It's like giving the lamb a set of practice problems
Okay.
and letting it learn from its mistakes
Yep.
without having to constantly interact with the real world.
Okay, so they've gathered the data,
Uh-huh.
trained the lamb,
Jane the lamb.
and now they need to put it to the test.
That's right.
How did they evaluate the lamb's performance?
They actually did both offline and online evaluations.
Hold on.
Okay.
What's the difference between offline and online evaluations?
Offline evaluations are like a written exam.
Okay.
They test the lamb's ability to generate plans and understand tasks
Okay.
without actually running it in the real world environment.
So it's all theoretical at this point.
Yeah, it's like checking the understanding.
Okay.
They use metrics like task success rate, step precision, and step recall
Okay.
to see how accurate and efficient the lamb's plans are.
So it's like checking the lamb's understanding of the concepts.
Yeah.
Before letting it loose in the real world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they do online evaluations,
Okay.
which is where things get really interesting.
All right, bring on the interesting.
They actually integrated the lamb into a GUI agent called UFO.
UFO, like those unidentified flying objects?
Not quite.
Okay.
UFO stands for UI-focused agent.
UI-focused agent, okay.
It's designed to automate tasks within the Windows operating system.
Okay, so they've taken this lamb
Yeah.
that's been learning in a simulated word environment
Uh-huh.
and plugged it into this UFO agent,
Yep.
which can then interact with a real instance of Microsoft Word.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Think of the UFO agent as the hands and eyes of the lamb.
I like that.
It uses the Windows UI Automation API
Okay.
to gather information about the current state of the application,
Mhm.
like what buttons are available
That's
or
right.
what text is selected.
Got it.
And then, based on the lamb's decisions,
Okay.
it executes the actions,
Mhm.
like clicking buttons or typing text.
So it's like the lamb is the brain
Yeah.
and the UFO agent is the body.
Yes.
The lamb makes the decisions and the UFO agent carries them out.
A perfect analogy.
The perfect analogy.
Okay, what's the kicker?
During those online evaluations,
Okay.
they compared the lamb's performance to GPT-4o,
GPT-4o again, all right?
both with and without access to visual information.
So they're pitting the lamb,
Right.
which only gets text-based input. Yeah.
Against GPT-4o,
Yes.
which can actually see what's happening on the screen.
That's right.
Sounds like a tough competition.
It was. It was.
But believe it or not,
I'm listening.
the lamb held its own, achieving a 71% success rate,
Wow.
which was pretty close to GPT-4's performance when it had visual information.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Especially considering the lamb was working with one hand tied behind its back.
It was. It was.
But here's the real shocker.
Okay, what's the shocker?
When they took away GPT-4's visual input,
Okay.
its performance plummeted.
So in a text-only world,
Yes.
the lamb actually outperformed GPT-4o.
Exactly.
But-
And not only that,
No.
it was also faster and more efficient,
Interesting.
completing tasks quicker
Yeah.
and with less processing power.
Well-
It's like the lamb has learned to operate with incredible precision,
Uh-huh.
even without the benefit of sight.
This is where my mind starts to get blown.
It is pretty mind-blowing
Right.
when you think about it.
We're essentially teaching an AI to understand our intentions,
Yeah.
figure out solutions to problems, and then actually take actions in the real world,
Right.
all through the power of language.
It's amazing.
It is pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
Yeah.
And this research is just the tip of the iceberg.
A bit.
Okay, so we've covered how lambs work,
Uh-huh.
how they're trained,
Yeah.
and how they perform.
Right.
But I'm curious,
Go.
how did they know the lamb was actually understanding the tasks?
That's a good question.
Was it just memorizing patterns?
Yeah.
Or was there something more going on?
That's a great question. And to really understand how the lamb was making its decisions,
Okay.
they did a deep dive into the types of errors it made.
Okay, so let's talk about those errors.
Okay.
What did they find?
Okay. They discovered that the lamb's errors fell into three main categories.
Three main categories, okay?
The first was object recognition errors.
Okay.
Basically.
So-
The lamb sometimes had trouble identifying the correct part of the user interface
Uh-huh.
to interact with.
Okay.
It might click the wrong button
Right.
or try to type text into a field that wasn't editable.
So it's like the lamb is trying to follow instructions,
Right.
but keeps grabbing the wrong tool for the job.
Exactly.
Okay.
And these errors often happen because of ambiguities in the UI design itself.
Oh, I see.
Maybe the button labels weren't clear or there were multiple elements that looked very similar.
Yeah. It makes you realize how important good design is.
It does.
Not just for us humans, but for AI as well.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
The second type of error was operation selection errors.
Operation selection errors, okay?
This means the lamb correctly identified the right element,
Yeah.
but chose the wrong action to perform.
So it might know it needs to click a button,
Right.
but then right clicks instead of left clicks.
Exactly.
Or tries to drag and drop something that isn't draggable.
Precisely. And these errors often occurred when the lamb encountered situations
Okay.
that weren't explicitly covered in its training data.
So it's kind of going off script a little bit.
Yeah, it's like trying to cook a dish you've never made before.
Uh-huh.
You might have the general idea,
Yeah.
but haven't quite mastered the specific techniques yet.
It highlights the need for lambs to be able to learn and adapt
Right.
beyond their initial training.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the third category,
Okay.
status misinterpretation errors.
Status misinterpretation errors.
This is where the lamb made incorrect assumptions
Okay.
about the state of the application.
I see.
Imagine the lamb is working on a document.
Okay.
It might assume the file has been saved when it hasn't.
Oh, that's a problem.
Or it might think a dialog box is open when it's not.
And I bet those assumptions can lead to a whole cascade of errors down the line.
You got it.
You got it.
It's like a chef assuming the oven is preheated when it's not. The dish is just not going to turn out right.
Yeah, the recipe's ruined.
It is.
So these errors, while fascinating,
Yeah,
also show that we're still in the early stages of lamb development.
definitely.
Definitely.
But that's what makes this research so exciting.
Yeah.
By analyzing these errors, the researchers can identify specific areas
Okay.
where the lamb needs to improve.
Got it.
It's all about making lambs more accurate,
Okay.
robust, and resilient,
No.
so they can handle the unexpected with grace.
It's like teaching the lamb not only to follow the recipe,
Right.
but also to troubleshoot problems when things go wrong.
Exactly.
There you go.
And that kind of reliability is essential
Yeah.
if we want people to trust lambs to do important tasks.
I agree.
Think about it.
Okay.
Would you trust an AI to manage your finances or control your smart home
No.
if it was prone to making these kinds of mistakes?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
So how do we build that trust?
That's the
What are the researchers doing to address these limitations and make lambs more reliable?
I'm listening.
Well, they talk about the need for things like formal verification,
Formal verification.
where you mathematically prove
Interesting.
that the lamb's actions will always be safe.
So you're proving that it can't go rogue.
Yeah, and also action validation,
Okay.
which is like having a safety net
Yeah.
that double checks the lamb's actions
Yeah.
before they're actually executed.
So it's like having a second set of eyes to catch any potential errors before they cause real harm.
Right.
But beyond just preventing errors.
Yeah.
What about understanding why those errors happen in the first place?
That's where explainability comes in.
Explainability.
We can't treat lambs like black boxes that just spit out actions.
No.
We need to be able to understand their reasoning, to see the logic behind their decisions.
Yeah, it's like the difference between a chef just handing you a dish
Right.
and actually explaining the recipe and the techniques they used.
Yes.
That explanation helps you understand the process, learn from it,
Right.
and ultimately trust the chef more.
That's a perfect analogy.
That's a perfect analogy.
And that level of transparency is crucial
I agree.
for building trust and ensuring that lambs are used responsibly.
So we've talked about the challenges,
Mm-hmm.
but let's not forget the incredible potential of lambs.
Definitely not.
This research focused on Microsoft Word,
It did.
but imagine applying this technology to other applications,
Yes.
other operating
The
systems.
possibilities are mind-boggling.
They are mind-boggling.
Think about lambs that manage our emails, schedule our meetings,
Yeah.
book our travel,
Uh-huh.
control our smart homes,
Yeah.
even help us write code.
It's like having a super efficient personal assistant
It is.
who can handle all those tedious tasks,
Yeah.
freeing up our time and energy
Exactly.
for more creative, meaningful work.
That's it.
Exactly.
And it's not just about saving time.
Right.
It's about augmenting our own capabilities.
I like that.
Lambs can help us to be more productive.
Efficient
Okay.
and ultimately more fulfilled in our work and lives.
It's a really exciting vision of the future.
It is.
But of course,
Yeah.
we need to be mindful of the potential downsides as well.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
As with any powerful technology,
Yeah.
there are risks involved.
Uh-huh.
We need to be careful about things like job displacement
Okay.
and the potential for bias in these systems.
That's a good point.
It's crucial to have open and honest conversations about the ethical implications of AI
I agree.
and to ensure that it's developed and deployed
Yeah.
in a way that benefits all of humanity.
It's about finding that balance
It is.
between progress and responsibility,
Uh-huh.
between harnessing the power of AI
Right.
while safeguarding our values
Yeah.
and ensuring a fair and equitable future.
Well said.
Well said.
It's a challenge,
Yeah.
but it's a challenge worth taking on.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about the amazing potential of lambs,
Uh-huh.
the challenges they face.
And the importance of responsible development.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up,
Okay.
I want to bring it back to this specific research.
Okay.
What are the researchers focusing on next?
Yeah.
What are the big questions they're still trying to answer?
One area they're really interested in
Yeah.
is improving the lamb's ability to handle more complex,
Cook.
multi-step tasks.
More complex tasks.
The tasks they tested in this study were relatively simple.
Uh-huh.
Things like changing font sizes and inserting images.
Yeah, the basics.
Yeah.
Right. But what about those tasks
Mm.
that involve multiple steps,
Yeah.
multiple applications,
Right.
even multiple people.
Exactly. Think about things like writing a report,
Okay.
creating a presentation,
Yeah.
planning a project.
Mm-hmm.
These tasks require a much higher level of planning,
Yeah.
coordination,
Right.
and decision-making.
So the lands need to become even more sophisticated.
Yes.
More like strategic thinkers than just task executors.
Right. And they also need to be able to learn and adapt to new environments more easily.
Yeah, I see.
Right now, most lambs are very specialized.
Uh-huh.
They're trained to work in a specific application
I know.
or operating system.
Yeah. But wouldn't it be amazing if we had lambs
It would be.
that could seamlessly move between different platforms,
Yes.
different tasks,
Okay.
different contexts?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's like teaching the chef not only how to cook Italian food,
Okay.
but how to learn new cuisines quickly and easily.
I like it.
And that's exactly what the researchers are exploring
Okay.
with techniques like meta-learning and transfer learning.
Meta learning and transfer learning.
It's about making lambs more versatile,
Okay.
more adaptable,
Okay.
and ultimately more useful in the real world.
It makes sense.
Exactly. And they're also looking at incorporating multimodal input into lambs.
Multimodal input, what does that mean?
So instead of just relying on text,
Okay.
the lamb could also take in visual information from the screen, audio input from the user, or even tactile feedback from a robot.
Wow. Imagine a lamb that can not only read your emails,
Yeah.
but also see what's on your screen,
Uh-huh.
hear your voice commands,
Right.
and even feel objects in the real world
Exactly.
that would take lambs to a whole new level of understanding and capability.
For sure.
It's like giving the chef not only the recipe,
Right.
but also a video demonstration, a
Right.
taste test,
Yeah.
and feedback from the diners.
Exactly.
All those different senses would provide a much richer,
Uh-huh.
more nuanced understanding of the task at hand.
It's an incredible vision of the future.
Yeah.
And it's inspiring to see the researchers pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI.
It's clear that we're still in the early days of lamb research,
We are.
but the progress so far has been remarkable.
It's amazing.
And as lambs continue to evolve,
Yeah.
I think we can expect to see them play an increasingly important role in our lives.
I think so too.
But as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of lambs,
Okay.
we want to leave you with something to ponder. This research showed us that lambs can successfully automate tasks within Microsoft Word.
Right.
But imagine the possibilities if we could apply this technology to other areas of our lives.
Yeah, outside of Word.
What tasks might we trust them with next?
Wow.
I mean, that's a fascinating question to consider.
It is.
If a lamb can learn to navigate the complexities of Word,
Uh-huh.
it's not hard to imagine them handling other computer-based tasks.
No, not at all.
Think about managing emails,
Right.
scheduling appointments,
Yeah.
even helping us with creative tasks like writing or design.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
So instead of being bogged down with all those routine tasks,
Yeah.
we could free up our mental bandwidth for the things that really matter.
Right.
Problem solving, innovation,
Yeah.
connecting with others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lambs could become powerful tools for amplifying our own abilities,
I like that.
helping us to achieve more and make a greater impact in the world.
But as we hand over more and more responsibility to AI,
Uh-huh.
we can't ignore the potential implications.
No.
What happens when AI starts making decisions that impact our lives in significant ways?
That's a crucial point.
It is.
As lambs become more sophisticated,
Yeah.
we need to be incredibly thoughtful about how we design and deploy them.
For sure.
We have to consider the potential consequences,
Yeah.
both intended and unintended.
It's like giving someone the keys to your car.
All right.
You want to make sure they're a skilled and responsible driver
Yeah.
before you let them take the wheel.
A great analogy.
A great analogy.
And in the case of lambs,
Mhm.
it's not just about technical proficiency. It's
Yeah.
about ensuring that these systems align with our values and ethical principles.
So we're talking about things like fairness,
Right.
transparency,
Yeah.
accountability.
Yeah.
We need to make sure lambs aren't perpetuating biases or making decisions that could harm individuals or society as a whole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And these aren't just hypothetical concerns.
Right.
As we've seen with other AI technologies,
Yeah.
there are real risks involved.
Yeah.
We need to learn from those experiences
Yeah.
and proceed with caution.
It's about finding that sweet spot
It is.
between embracing innovation
Yep.
and mitigating risk,
Mm-hmm.
between pushing the boundaries of what's possible
Yeah.
while also safeguarding our values.
And that's where the real work lies.
That's where the work is.
It's not enough to just develop powerful AI systems.
Right.
We need to engage in ongoing dialogue, thoughtful debate,
Okay.
and rigorous testing to ensure that these systems are used for good.
It's about recognizing that AI isn't just a technological advancement.
Right.
It's a societal one.
Absolutely.
It has the potential to reshape our world in profound ways.
It does.
And we need to be active participants in shaping that future.
Well said.
Well said.
It's not just about what AI can do. It's
Oh.
about what we choose to do with it.
So as you continue to explore the world of AI
Yeah.
and contemplate the possibilities of LAMs, we encourage you to think deeply about these questions.
Okay.
What role do you want AI to play in your life?
That's a good question.
What tasks are you comfortable delegating?
Yeah.
And what safeguards do we need to put in place to ensure a future where AI benefits all of humanity?
Those are great questions to ponder.
They are great questions.
As we navigate this exciting but complex terrain,
For sure.
it's a journey we're all on together.
Yeah. We're all in this together.
And the choices we make today will shape the world we live in tomorrow.
Well, on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the fascinating world of large action models.
It has been a fascinating dive.
We hope you've enjoyed this exploration as much as we have.
I certainly have.
And remember, the learning never stops.
That's right.
Keep asking questions.
Keep learning.
Keep exploring. And keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Until next time.